You know, sometimes in life we come across things that never really leave our mind, disturbing things. And this was it for me. An 8-year-old girl was found dead after she had been assaulted by 8 men. Her name was Asifa Bano. Now, this took place in India. Now, this is a terrible story, and may all of those involved suffer for their part in it. Now, here are several facts that prove suspect as I uncovered the story for myself. She was 8 years old. She was raped by 8 men. Her body was found on the 17th of January, so that's 1 + 7, 8. And this happened in 2018. Here we go, another 8. She was missing for 8 days. She was tortured for 8 days. And she was raped in a Hindu temple. Keep that in mind. This is a place of worship. Now, the logical questions to ask now are, is the number 8 a coincidence? And if not, then what's the connection between these men and that number? And why did they commit this crime in a temple? Out of all places. I mean, this is a place of worship, right? And why was she tortured? Now, the case has been covered, and I believe some of the criminals have been arrested, and about 4 or 5 of them have been given life sentences and so forth. And keep in mind, amongst these criminals, we had 4 police officers, I believe a government official, and a temple priest.
Now, do you mean to tell me that all of these men were just so desperate for some sex that they just had to kidnap and rape a little girl? No, the answer is not that simple. These were smart men with careers and families, and an act like this would dishonor their whole families as well as tarnish their legacies and reputations within those societies. So in the Hindu religion, a goddess by the name of Lakshmi is known as the goddess of good fortune, fertility, and wealth, both spiritually and physically. This goddess happens to have 8 avatars or forms that must be worshipped. Could it be that this was some kind of ritual? Because we know from history that pagans would have sex in temples in order to make contact with demonic spirits, or at which point they would be granted something. So sex is a form of worship, and the fact that this was done in a temple kind of raises even more suspicion. People feel nothing but pleasure when in the act of having sex or coitus. But in the case of forced sex or rape, the perpetrator is the one who gets off. Energy is built, shared and transferred through sex, and people involved in Satanism, paganism and witchcraft believe in this energy and that it can be used to open portals to the supernatural. Erotocomatose lucidity, or ECL, is an extreme form of sex magic and is yet another piece of evidence showcasing that things like sex rituals actually exist. This form of very extreme and sinister sex magic was actually practiced by a well-known English occultist, Aleister Crowley, the very same man that went on record saying that partaking in sex rituals with innocents, especially a male child, would yield the greatest results from the gods or demons that they were trying to appease, and in turn the practitioner would be rewarded or awarded with extra powers, supernatural powers for that matter. It makes you think of this whole superhero concept that we live in these days, and in comic books and movies as well. People who usually lost someone or something dear to them, and as a result developed those powers. Could it all be a subtle way of showing you that with great ungodly powers comes a great sacrifice first? Well, that's another topic for another day. There are up to 33 million gods worshipped in India alone. Could all of these idols or deities just be man-made? Or is it just another way of the government to control the masses? And so they create religion and all these gods. Get real, people. These deities and all of these other gods really do exist. I mean, every year in America, for example, just in the city of Washington, D.C., over 100,000 kids go missing. Now multiply that by millions globally. Where are all of these kids? And in some cases, adults as well. You get a guy who would appear missing on a milk cart. The guy's maybe 34 years old. Okay, fair enough. Say he went out drinking with his buddies and he got in a fight and he got killed somewhere and he didn't come home. Do you mean to tell me all of these other adults went missing in the same manner, or they just forgot they were home? I really do believe a lot of people get kidnapped for nefarious reasons, and some of them do get kidnapped by occultists and so forth for sacrifices, and in some cases maybe organ harvesting. Well, I'm just saying all of this to point out the fact that it's not a foreign concept for someone to get sacrificed because of spiritual reasons, and in a case like this, it's really very obvious. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Please share in the comments, and RIP to Asifa Bano, and I'll never forget you.